Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of this F1 24 driver career mode. If you did miss the last episode, it was a Max Verstappen domination in China. Sergio Perez may have won the sprint race, but Max Verstappen claimed a very comfortable victory in the main Grand Prix, with Perez finishing in P2 to make it a Red Bull 1-2 in the Grand Prix, and that of the sprint race as well. So Red Bull definitely the team to beat at the moment. Charles Leclerc did cross the line to seal the deal and get a P3 in the end in China, and after getting some early damage and a spin on top of the lack of pace that we had in the changing conditions, we could only manage P15, which was very disappointing considering our starts were absolutely amazing, getting inside the points on both the sprint and the main Grand Prix starts. Verstappen, he will lead the Drivers' Championship by 42 points to Lando Norris going into this round. Myself, we've dropped down the P9, 71 points behind Red Bull. They have extended their championship lead in the constructors to 37 points ahead of McLaren, and RB we now sit P6, 105 points, as we now start looking for some upgrades, and we're going to jump straight into the powertrain. It's going to be a minor ERS upgrade since both development rates get in before Imola. We will do a standard development just to make sure that we do get the part, and with a 30% failure rate, hopefully it will come in first attempt. And we'll also take a look at the aerodynamics after doing a little bit of fast forwarding in the time. We've now got enough points to get a minor drag reduction upgrade, and the same deal with the ERS upgrade, just standard development to make sure he gets in, but this time before Canada, since we have fast forwarded that time. And it's also going to be a 30% failure rate. And taking a look at the R&D, it's going to be Red Bull, and they are well and truly the fastest car by a very safe margin, and pretty much they're off the charts essentially. McLaren, they've brought in some new upgrades for this weekend to pull away from Aston Martin on the chart there, and Mercedes and Ferrari are still very close together on performance, but notably Sauber and RB, we have closed the gap massively to them this weekend. Even after we left Sauber, they've seemed to have just maintained the very aggressive R&D strategy, and seems to be paying off with them having this massive jump in performance. And this now leaves a very large gap to the bottom three teams, being Alpine, Williams and Haas, as we now get ready for qualifying.
Welcome along everybody to Imola, just down the road from Ferrari HQ, and they know a thing or two about pace, and pace today is king. It's qualifying day, and it's great to have you with us.
This is definitely one of my more confident circuits and one of my more favourite circuits on the calendar, so definitely going to be looking for a very good result in this qualifying session as we come into the chicane and we hit the back of Daniel Ricciardo, who was dawdling, absolutely dawdling in that chicane, and we have broken our front wing, so we've had to come in, take in some repairs, and you'll see now we're now all of a sudden less than 10 minutes away from the end of this first session, and at the moment we only sit P16. That's not good enough to make it into the next session, so we've had to come in and do another flying lap on a fresh set of tyres, so using an extra set of tyres to get it done, and we will cross the line, to finish in the end P5, which is a really good result considering we did have that contact with our teammate early on. Max Verstappen was fastest in Q1 by 0.02 of a second to Fernando Alonso. Lando Norris P3, 2/10 behind. Myself P5, 3/10. Ricciardo P15, only making it through by 0.07 and knocked out in Q1. Ocon, Albon, Hulkenberg, Sargent and Zhou Guanyu failing to make it to this next part of qualifying, as we do now cross the line, and we will finish our first flying lap here on a scrub set of tyres in qualifying 2, and that will put us P7 as it sits for the moment. And coming up to this chicane once again, we've now got Pierre Gasly sitting right in front of us, and he's going to block us massively. We've lost about 0.4 of a second just through here. This time though, unlike our teammate incident there, we will not make any contact with him, but we will be able to continue to finish our lap and hopefully try and make it inside the top 10. At the moment, we are in the drop zone and won't be making it through to the final part of qualifying. We're using the rest of the ERS that we do have available. We're going to make a 4/10 improvement. Is it going to be good enough to make it through? It will be for a P7, so excellent result in the end despite being blocked. Max Verstappen once again fastest now into Q2 by 0.09 to Fernando Alonso. Perez P3, he's a 10th behind, and considering, I was on P7, 4/10 behind despite being blocked, that's massive. That would be a massive lap. And knocked down qualifying to Carlos Sainz in the Mercedes, and Hamilton the Ferrari, the Tifosi, they're going to be absolutely devastated. Bottas, Gasly and Ricciardo, they're also going to be knocked out in this session, so disappointing to see our teammate knocked out, but I'm kind of glad to see Gasly out, and that was pretty deserved, despite how badly he was blocking us. We're going to start our first flying lap here in a qualifying 3 for this first chicane, and we will nearly loop it. A very good save on the second part there, and we'll come around to end our first flying lap. They're getting on the power quite nicely with 0 wheel spin, and we'll cross the line to go P6, which is pretty good. We're just behind Norris. Sergio Perez behind us. He'll go fastest with a 12.9, so he's about second up the road from us. And Fernando Alonso in front, he's going to lock it up, and that really distracted me, and that's going to ruin my run. You can see they're slightly losing a little bit of time by dumping the ERS, and we'll actually make a small improvement, and this will put us P7 on the grid for the Grand Prix. So it all kicked off there on our final flying lap there. Sergio Perez, he's actually going to get pole position ahead of his teammate Max Verstappen by a 10th, making a Red Bull front row lockout. Alonso, despite that massive lockup on his final flying lap, he'll sit P3.
Welcome to Imola, the spiritual home of Ferrari. But you don't need me to tell you that. Just look at the red-clad Tifosi in the grandstands. They're ready. Are you ready? For the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. 3.1 miles of track at Imola, featuring 19 turns, 9 to the right and 10 to the left. Remember that Imola differs from most other Formula One tracks as it's taken anti-clockwise. Let's hope nobody forgets that today. The exit from turn 18 will probably be the setup for many of today's overtakes, leading as it does into the longest straight on the circuit, and it's only DRS zone. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. It's Sergio Perez on pole today, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Fernando Alonso, Stroll, Leclerc, Norris, Lightning, Tsunoda, Oscar Piastri, Russell, Sainz, Hamilton, Bottas, Gasly, Ricciardo, Albon, Hulkenberg, Sargent, Joe, and Esteban Ocon lines up at the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Well, it's been a long time since I last worked with you. Good to see you again today, Anthony Davidson. Now, you're the racing driver in this partnership, so tell us about this racing driver. Put us in their shoes. How are they going to be feeling?
Well, you've got to be prepared, Crofty. Before you even step foot inside the car, you've got to know, you've got to have a pre-race game plan. You've watched videos before you get into the car of previous races gone by. You know where you have to place your car if X, Y, or Z happens in front of you or behind you. So having this clear game plan is absolutely essential before you get in the car.
Okay, as you know, this is the team's home race, which means it's extra important for everybody in this team. They've got friends here, they've got family here, they're all in the grandstands watching, so let's go and put on a good show for them.
And that has only just dawned in on me, that it is in fact the team's home race, and so there is now a lot more pressure to this Grand Prix. We're going to go for the medium to the hard compound. We line up P7 on the grid. We wait for the 5 red lights, and they're finally out, and we are away for the Imola Grand Prix. It's a pretty shocking start, to be honest. Yuki Tsunoda's an absolute flyer. He's already got past us, and he's looking to make it 3 wide now with Leclerc and Norris. We back out of the first corner just a little bit, and there's contact up ahead between Norris and Charles Leclerc. Leclerc kind of squeezed out there and slows up the train that I'm now part of, and George Russell's now going side by side with us, and this is not usually a place you want to be going side by side. We hang it around the outside, and look up in the distance. One of the Red Bulls has already made absolute massive ground, and I reckon that's Max Verstappen, because that there is Sergio Perez currently sitting in P4. As we take a look behind us, it is Russell behind us and Sainz, the final car, rounding out the points as we head halfway through this first lap. And the overtakes are immediately starting here. And the 2 Aston Martins look like they are trading positions here. It will be Stroll that will lead Fernando Alonso, currently P2 and P3. And now with the power DRS, it looks like they'll switch back. Alonso in the grass to make the move done, squeezed by his teammate coming down the straight, but he'll easily get that move done. But he's locked up going into the first corner, and that is a race ender for Fernando Alonso. He is plummeting down to last position from overtaking for P2 to to last in before they even exited the corner. And now Sergio Perez blocked behind Stroll, and Norris does not need a second invitation. He's going to try and go around the outside of Perez, and is he going to be able to get the move done? He looks like he is ahead, and he is ahead of Sergio Perez. A very opportunistic move there for Norris to get himself up onto the podium, but he's not done it yet, as he's now using the DRS to try and get himself ahead of Stroll, and he will get himself ahead of Stroll quite easily in the end. On board with myself now, and we are tucked right up behind Charles Leclerc and Liz the Train, now led by Stroll. So it is Stroll ahead of Sergio Perez, and then Yuki Tsunoda and Charles Leclerc, and soon it's going to be me ahead of Charles Leclerc. We've done a lot of ERS as we do get a much better exit out of that chicane than Charles Leclerc, and we'll go around the outside, and that is us now up into P6, and we'll chase down Yuki Tsunoda as Lando Norris now sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, and we have got a mission to try and catch that Sauber, a Sauber that is still faster than our RB. Sergio Perez now looking to try and get ahead of Stroll, so Stroll definitely the bottleneck in the field at the moment, and Perez now does get himself up into P3, and our first objective of the race is to overtake Sergio Perez, who he now seems like he's the bottleneck, so he was able to get ahead of Stroll, and he has not made any ground whatsoever coming in now into this chicane, and you can just see how much ground I'm able to make under the brakes going into the chicane, much more confident than the AI to use those curbs through there, and this could be advantage me here as we dump a bit of ERS very late on the brakes, and we'll get the move done on Yuki Tsunoda up into P5. We've now got 2 laps to try and not only catch and pass Stroll, and then catch and pass Sergio Perez as well, but it's going to be Stroll attacking Sergio Perez, and Perez is now locked up into turn 1, just as Alonso did, and that is now going to be here. But is he going to plummet down to last? He's still stationary at the apex of the second corner there, and that is him now down into last position. What is going on today with people locking up? It was first Alonso in qualifying, then Alonso in the Grand Prix, Sergio Perez in the Grand Prix, but we're now overtaking Stroll to get us now up onto a provisional podium at the moment. We're sitting P3, but there's still a pit cycle to come, and 21 more laps of a racing, but we'll do an order check. Max Verstappen is dominating the race. He's 5 seconds ahead of Lando Norris and myself in P3. Stroll sits P4. Yuki Tsunoda, Charles Leclerc, the 2 Mercedes of George Russell and Carlos Sainz, and it's Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari for the first time on Italian soil, and then it's Oscar Piastri in P10 rounding out the points. Pierre Gasly, Valtteri Bottas, the 2 Williams of Albon and Sargent, our teammate, down in P15, not looking very good for him at the moment. Esteban Ocon in P16, the 2 Hasses of Hulkenberg and Zhou. Then it's Fernando Alonso in P19, still trying to recover after that mistake, and Sergio Perez, he still sits P20 after that mistake that he made only a few laps prior. And we have now got our next objective, and we need to charge up some ERS. I'm saving up quite a bit through the lap, but I do have to dump quite a lot of it down the straight to make sure we do not get overtaken with the DRS of Stroll. But Max Verstappen, the race leader, he is now in for what I would assume is going to be his one and only pit stop. We'll see what he goes from. He is currently on the mediums, and it looks like the white-walled hard tyres are getting put onto his Red Bull there as we get it slowed down quite nicely. All the fronts are locked up, but we are not intending to use these tyres again, so that is completely fine by me. We're going to be trying to go for an optimal turning, and we do get it, and so now it is up to the boys and girls at RB to try and get this a good pit stop at 2.4. Excellent pit stop there from the crew, and that is going to spit us out in P14 by the looks of it, and so hopefully we can use these hard tyres to good advantage for ourselves. And leaving the chicane here, we will actually pass our ERS objective, so we are able to save quite a bit of ERS throughout the lap, and now that we don't really have any DRS threat from anyone behind us, we are able to kind of reduce how much we use down the straight to try and minimize our usage in case if we do need it later on. George Russell, he's got himself up to P6, and Oscar Piastri is now inside the points, once again sitting P10, but you'll take note there, Gasly and Ocon yet to pit, sitting P1 and 2 as it stands at the moment. Charles Leclerc, though, he's not wanting to sit behind Oscar Piastri. He'll get the move done up into P9 now, and that is him ahead of the Australian driver, Yuki Tsunoda, in this very good-looking Sauber at the moment. Definitely one of something that can definitely score regular points at the moment, with both cars at the moment sitting inside the points. Yuki Tsunoda gets himself ahead of George Russell. Piastri, once again, getting himself ahead of Charles Leclerc in that Ferrari, and we'll take another look at the order now as everyone has completed their mandatory pit stop. Verstappen leads by 7.5 seconds to Lando Norris, and myself still sitting in P3, so we're on for possibly a podium at our team's home Grand Prix. Yuki Tsunoda, George Russell, Stroll, Lewis Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, and Valtteri Bottas rounds out the points at the moment. And then it's Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, our teammate, is now up into P13, so he's made up a little bit of ground through the pit cycle. Logan Sargent, Fernando Alonso has only made it up to P15 so far. Alex Albon, Sergio Perez still down in P17 after that mistake. Esteban Ocon, he'll sit P18 as it stands, and then the two Hasses currently round out the field with Zhou Guanyu ahead of his teammate Nico Hulkenberg, who sits 5.5 seconds behind his teammate, and so it's not looking very good for Haas at the moment. We've got another objective on lap 22 here, and we need to set a quick lap time here because I was in hot lap mode, just absolutely sending qualifying laps on these tyres in the first part of this stint. And so as the tyre wear starts to kick in, I've got a feeling Yuki Tsunoda may be able to close the gap, but he's currently battling with George Russell, so that's kind of like our saving grace. So a quick lap time here, you can see, really opened up that gap to allow us to try and ease the pressure off a little bit. I did try to catch Norris, but unfortunately just wasn't able to do it. We got it down to about 2.5, 3 seconds, but you can see that it's now stretched it out all the way to nearly 5 seconds now. And so I think we're going to be settling for P3 as we jump back on board with ourselves. And have we got an issue? Gearbox issue. Oh, surely we can last the last 7 laps. And no, it's a gearbox failure. Well, on the podium for the team's home race. The race has ended in absolute disaster. It's a catastrophe for the team. We're on for such a good result here. And, oh my god, that is just absolutely heartbreaking. A good qualifying. We had our issues. It was a good qualifying. Made it up to the podium, and it's just been taken away from us just like that.
It's another victory and a champion's performance from Max Verstappen.
And that's 2 wins in a row now. It's the start of potentially something special, but they can't get ahead of themselves just yet. It's a long way to go.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves.
So, to no surprise, Max Verstappen has won the Imola Grand Prix. He takes win number 4 from only 4 Grand Prix so far this season. Won absolutely everything this season. Norris P2, and George Russell, he's just done George Russell things. He's managed to get a podium, even though he was battling Yuki Tsunoda there, so he's definitely benefiting off the misfortunes of myself there to get another very lucky podium. The rest of the top 10, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Charles Leclerc, Yuki Tsunoda ended up all the way down in P7, so he really struggled when the race went into that simulation after a mild DNF. Hamilton, Sainz, and Bottas rounds out the points. Daniel Ricciardo in P14, and myself, the only non-finisher after that gearbox failure. Max Verstappen, he leads the Drivers' Championship by 49 points to Lando Norris. George Russell sits P3, 51 points behind. Myself, after another DNF, we drop even further now, down to P11, outside the top 10, 96 points behind. Ricciardo currently sits P17, and Red Bull, they're currently leading the Constructors' Championship by 34 points to McLaren. Mercedes sit P3, 72 points behind, and RB, we're P6, 130 points behind. We're going to take a look at the driver ratings. Our experience, awareness, and pace, they've all lost some points. The racecraft has dropped to level 88, and the focus has also dropped to level 84. But we do improve our pace, and our overall level is still 88. Driver recognition, unchanged at 58%, and that is going to be all for this episode. So if you did enjoy it, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode where we go to Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. See you then.